everyone, it's Brennan. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another video. Today we are starting a reading vlog. I could not let Romance-A-Thon pass me by. I feel like the last year of my life has just been full of romance books. That's just somehow become one of my main genres. So here I am, it's Romance-A-Thon. Today is June 11th. The readathon starts tomorrow. It goes until June 18th. It's being hosted by several booktubers here. Haley from Haley Hughes and Deja from Deja's Book World are the two that I know the best. So I will have everyone's channel linked below. I have the list of prompts pulled up here. This is going to be like a super casual video where hopefully I can just knock off some books from my TBR. And I'm not going to lie, I'm just kind of going to make the books that I want to read fit these prompts. So like, don't judge me. I have a lot of books I want to read. And I don't want to stray too far from the books that are on my radar right now. And prompt number 1 is read a romance book with a cover you love. Any of these books will fit that prompt. Book 2 is read a romance book written by a BIPOC author, and BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, or Person of Color. And I want to read Destiny's Embrace by Beverly Jenkins. I have not read from her before. She is a very well-known historical romance author, and she writes American historical romance, like 19th century, I think. I'm not sure, but I hear such good things about her books, and this is the first book in a series, and I'm pretty sure I have the whole series on Kindle, so definitely want to pick that up very soon. I've been in such the historical romance mood. It's like I pick up one historical and then I'm ready to become an exclusively historical romance reader. And I'm going to make Destiny's Embrace fit that first prompt for a cover you love, because who in their right mind does not love a mass market paperback historical romance book cover? They're perfection, and you cannot tell me otherwise. Prompt number 3 is read a romance book that is out of your comfort zone. And for that, I'm going to pick Tryst 6 Venom by Penelope Douglas. Penelope Douglas is definitely not out of my comfort zone. Actually, maybe Penelope Douglas is out of everyone's comfort zones, because she just writes some very particular stuff and she just does it like no one else can. But Tryst 6 Venom is a female-female romance. And while I have read books that have female romances in them, they haven't been like romance books. They've been just more like fiction books. So Tryst 6 Venom is my first foray, to my knowledge, into female romances. And this is a new release from her. It came out this month. It came out June 3rd. And I may already be like 30% into it, but it's like 587 pages. It is a thick book, so don't judge me too harshly. Prompt number 4 is read an indie published romance. Tryst 6 Venom. There you go. Penelope Douglas writes some quality indie romance. Like maybe my favorite indie romance. I am not all that well versed in books in general. Like I'm still like sort of semi-new to reading again, but I haven't met a Penelope Douglas that I have disliked so far. Prompt number 5 is read a backlist title from your favorite romance author. And this is going to be a stretch, but I'm going to read Beard Science by Penny Reed. The only Penny Reed books that I have read are the first 2 books in this Winston Brothers series, Truth or Beard and Grin and Beard It. Listen, these titles may be a lot, but this is becoming my favorite romance series ever. This is just so good. This follows Tennessee mountain men. It's like a big family of 6 brothers and a sister, and they each have their own books. And the first 2 books in this series have just been like perfection for me. They are so funny. They are so steamy. I can't say enough good things about them. And this 3rd book, you can tell I really like a book because my voice gets really hard to control. This 3rd book is Cletus's book, and Cletus is just my favorite brother so far. He's played such a big role in the first 2 books in this series, and I'm so excited to get to his book. This is called Beard Science. He's kind of like the genius brother, but like super socially awkward, and I just love him. It's hard for me to talk about it because I love him so much. So I'm going to say Penny Reed is becoming one of my favorite romance authors and use this book for this prompt. Prompt 6 is read a romance book from a new to you author. Beverly Jenkins, Destiny's Embrace. I have not read a Beverly Jenkins book, even though she has been around writing romances for a long time. So I am super excited to pick up a book from her. And prompt 7, the last prompt, is read a romance book with a hate to love trope. And that's a good opening for me to talk about Tryst 6 Venom again. This is hate to love. This is bully romance. This is high school bully romance between two seniors. And like I said, I'm like 30% into it, and I did the math, and that's like 176 pages, but I still have like 411 pages left, which is well over your typical romance book. And this is an indie romance. And like I said, this is a female-female romance. We follow Clay and Olivia, or Liv. Clay is like a stereotypical blonde, preppy, rich girl. They go to a Catholic all-girls school. And then we have Olivia, who is from like a Native American Seminole background. I talk like you should know. This is in Florida. This takes place in like the swamp lands of Florida. And oh, is this hate to love. There's so much hate. There's so much bullying. Like, this book starts out going hard. It's going really hard with the bullying. Clay is so mean to Liv. Clay is like angry that she's attracted to Olivia. She has a lot of standards that she has to live up to. Like, they do like debutante balls, and she's from a wealthy family, so they're like prominent in their town and in the society of their town. And Liv is your like dark-haired kind of bad girl, rides a motorcycle, wears leather, and she is like openly, I don't know if she's lesbian or bisexual, but she is openly out at their school. There's so much bullying. Like, Clay's mom, like the rich parents in this school, like made them renovate their locker rooms because they have an openly gay student in Liv at their school. Let me just say, like, that's a lot, like, that's aggressive, but this is an indie romance, and it goes there. It can just go there, and that's what I love about indie romances. It's not like a traditional romance where you have to like watch out for stepping on people's toes. They can just go there. Penelope Douglas goes there. And I get that that's not for everyone, but it's just something, you know? Oh, this is off topic, but I've been in like a really big throwback emo phase right now. And what I was trying to say there is it's better to feel the pain in an indie romance than feel nothing at all. But that's super over the top. I'm prone to exaggeration. I'm Pisces. Anyway, guys, I hope you know that, like, I joke a lot. Like, for the most part, for all this stuff, like, I joke with over-the-top statements a lot. Anyway, what was I saying? Indie romances, they're just great. They're quality. If you've never read one before, like, pick one up. They are just so different from your vanilla traditional romances. They can just go a lot farther, and I applaud them. I applaud Penelope Douglas and all authors like her for doing their thing and writing books that they want to write. And Tris Venom is just so far so good. So I will keep you all updated. Like I said, this is going to be super casual. I'm just trying to see what I can get read over these next 6 or 7 days or so. So stick around. I'll have some book talk coming up soon. I have an update, and per my usual, I've just already finished a book that I haven't even talked about yet, but I want to talk about it. So apologies, but we're going a little bit out of order for this. No surprises, I finished Beard Science by Penny Reed. This is Cletus's book and the third book in her Winston Brothers series. I listened to this on audio. I don't know if I mentioned, but in the Audible Plus catalog, if you have that membership or if you have an Audible membership, whatever, they have all of these books available to you, and they are becoming my favorite romance books. This third book in the series might be my favorite book that I've read so far this year. And I have read 54 books now this year. And this one, right now, it's like in that #1 spot for me. It was just so good. It was a perfect romance for me. One, I was just so excited for Cletus's book. He is like, how to describe Cletus? He's kind of like an evil, lovable, awkward mastermind. I'm not sure if that's a great way to describe him, but he's like blunt and awkward, and maybe has a little bit of like social issues. And his love interest, we've met her in the other books, but it's Jennifer, the banana cake queen, and I loved her. She has kind of a tragic upbringing, but she comes from a good family. Okay, so here's Jennifer's story. She has been super sheltered, like super sheltered. Her dad is like their high school principal, and her mom comes from money, and she and her mom run this bakery, or like this lodge. It's a lodge and a bakery, and Jennifer is like A+ world-class baker, and she has a really strong social media presence in this world. She has like millions of followers on Instagram or something, but she like does not care at all, and she doesn't even like really like baking all that much, but she has brought a lot of profit to her mother's business, and her dad is kind of just benefiting from the money that she and her mom bring in. But Jennifer isn't even an employee. She just like does these things and works 80-hour weeks just doing stuff to make her parents happy and to do stuff for her social media page that her mom like runs, I guess. But she doesn't have any friends. She's like super shy and super awkward. And she was homeschooled, which like is fine, but she was homeschooled to like shelter her and keep her away from things. This might sound bad, but I loved disliking her parents in this book. I was just super captivated by her kind of grabbing her own life and taking control of it. And her dad especially. Her mom is like sort of likable a little bit, but her dad is just like super unlikable, and he's supposed to be that way, and it's fine. And Cletus actually ends up blackmailing her dad, which is kind of where a little bit of like third act comes in. But what I appreciated so much in this book was that for the most part, she and Cletus were like on the same page, and how they kind of meet, because they've both grown up in this town and known each other for their whole lives, but both of their like social bearings just does not condone friendships. This is not making any sense, probably, unless you've read this book. Jennifer doesn't have any friends. Like I mentioned, she's been super sheltered, and she gets some blackmail on Cletus, who does a lot of like super shady, like not legal things, but are like vigilante type things. Anyway, she enlists Cletus to help her. She wants to find a husband because she wants to get out of her house because it's a very unhappy place. She just like either works at the bakery or like writes to her pen pals at home. And the thing about Jennifer, I could talk about Jennifer all day. Her parents are like super derogatory to her. Like they talk to her like she's stupid, like she's just a pretty face, like all she can do is bake cakes and take pictures. And her mom like dresses her and like styles her to basically into this character. Like she is only allowed to like wear yellow, and she has to dye her hair blonde because she has like the banana cake queen persona. And Jennifer like wants to make her parents happy, but now she's like, I've got to get out of this house. They tell me I'm stupid. They tell me I can't think for myself. Her dad actually raised her, and she has a brother who is mixed up in the biker gang in this community now. But her dad like raised them misquoting the Bible to them to like control them. Super like super messed up family. But Jennifer comes into her own in this book, and Cletus kind of like softens up a little bit. Cletus is like flawless to me to begin with. Is he a new bookish boyfriend? Yeah, he probably is. He's just so awkward. He's just so blunt and like mischievous and just perfection. Jennifer's perfection. I love her story. I love her and Cletus's relationship. It's just really good, and they were both just super honest to each other, like for the most part, except for like the blackmail, but also like Cletus is a blackmailer, and Jennifer just like plays his own game with him. It's just so good. I don't really have anything else to say other than this book is 6 stars from me. Yes, 6 out of 5 stars. It was so good. My favorite romance, apparently, that I've ever read. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I couldn't stop listening. The audiobooks for these are really good. And Beard Science is going to complete for me. I think it was read a book from your favorite author's backlist. Penny Reed is just becoming one of my favorite authors. Her books are so good. And I am making my way through her Winston Brothers series. And I actually think that was the only prompt that this book was going to fulfill. So we will get back on track with Tris Seeks Venom by Penelope Douglas, which is doing the indie romance prompt for me, book out of your comfort zone, and hate to love. Those 3 prompts, I do believe. But I'm now 50% into this. I should mention, it's like Wednesday. Yes, it's Wednesday. My work schedule is super weird, so I just never know what day it is. It's Wednesday. I have like 2 days to read a book and a half to finish this, but I might extend this. Like, my thing with readathons is that I just kind of keep going because I like to finish the books that I've been talking about. I don't have a lot to update with Trish 6 Venom. I can't really remember what I updated last. That's also my problem with vlogs, is that I just end up saying the same things over and over again because I can't remember what I said last. So I will just say that Clay and Olivia have had some steamy run-ins, and Clay just really likes to play games. Like, that's her thing. She just likes to play games with people, and she like knows that about herself, and she knows she's messed up, and she just embraces it. So, you know, an 18-year-old who knows what she wants and knows that it is not healthy, and she just leans into it, and she's like, it's fine, I'm unhealthy, I have a super unhealthy home, and I'm just going with it. So she kind of has a boyfriend, Clay does, in this. Clay, to refresh you, is the rich girl, supposed to have it all together girl. But she kind of has a boyfriend, like he's not really her boyfriend. The same thing like with in Punk 57 with Ron and her guy, but maybe they actually were dating. Anyway, Clay and her boyfriend, Callum, they kind of like to play games too. And I think Callum kind of knows that Clay likes Liv, and he's just like trying to have fun. Everyone's just trying to have really mean fun. There's a lot of mean fun in this book. I'm doing a really bad job describing it, but I'm 50% in, which means I still have like 300 pages left. Not quite 300 pages left. Maybe if I like really super put myself into it, I can finish it today. We'll see. That's like a super lofty goal. Sorry I cut off kind of quick there. Nick started talking to me, and then I needed to get in the car and go to Lowe's to pick up a few cleaning things. But I thought I might go to Barnes & Noble because Nick's mom got me a bunch of Barnes & Noble gift cards for my birthday that I haven't used yet. And Penny reads other books that are in like the Winston Brothers world, basically Cletus's books. They aren't in the Audible Plus catalog. And the ebooks, like the Kindle books, are still like $6.99, like $7. And my library doesn't have them. So, since all other options were exhausted, I guess I can go to Barnes & Noble and buy them. If I don't get embarrassed, then I might film a little bit. Just like, you'll probably see it with some music over it. And we'll do some romance book shopping in Barnes & Noble because I just love these books. I love these characters. I love this Eastern Tennessee world. It's just my cup of tea, I suppose. Also, I wish I had my other two books on audio, but I don't. So if you're interested in what I'm listening to on audio now, I'm listening to Wise Blood by Flannery O'Connor. And this is like a short book. It's like less than 300 pages. And I checked it out from the library because my family and I went to Savannah for a day during our vacation, and Flannery O'Connor grew up in Savannah, and she's a female Southern Gothic author, and I wanted to read some of her books. I actually think I read one of her short stories in high school. A Good Man Is Hard to Find, that one. I think a family gets murdered in it. If I'm thinking correctly, I might be wrong. I can't really remember. But I picked up also her short story collection that has that one in it. Southern Gothic, doesn't that sound fun? But I'm already like halfway through Wise Blood. I almost called it A Wise Man's Fear. That is not in the same sphere at all. But this was written in like the 60s, the 1960s, I think. And I don't know what's happening. I'm going to be real with you. I don't know what's happening. I'm like 40-some% in. Couldn't really tell you what's going on. I did like look up the Wikipedia page, and it's a lot of commentary on religious crises. And I spent the first like 30% of the book thinking the main character we were following was black, and he's not black. He's white. And I'm just getting everyone kind of confused. Also, it's super uncomfortable. Everyone in this book is so creepy. And it's like really weird. Like, it's really weird men. It's really weird men. And if this is how Flannery O'Connor kind of saw men, then I feel very bad for her. I'm going to go book shopping now. And Wise Blood is definitely not on this Romance-A-Thon TBR. Definitely not. But I just wanted to mention it to you. Not a very successful Barnes & Noble trip. I'm not gonna lie, the last 2 times I've gone to Barnes & Noble looking for particular books that they have on their website, they don't have them in the store. Super disappointing. The other one I went to look for was Wild at Heart, K.A. Tucker's second book in her Simple Wild series. They did not have one penny read book that I could find. Also, they've kind of like moved their store around, so like maybe I'm dumb, but I don't think that's what it is. And hopefully you saw this in the previous clip. They had Corrupt. Penelope Douglas released new covers in her Devil's Knot series, and they had Corrupt at Barnes & Noble, which is really cool for an indie romance, but they had it in the horror section, which is so funny. It is like a super steamy adult, new adult indie romance, and it's Penelope Douglas, but they had it in the horror section. And to be fair, the cover of it is very horror, but you probably saw in that clip also House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danilewski, sorry. But this is a super thick horror book, not on theme for this video, but it was the only book that I bought at Barnes & Noble today. And this is definitely a book that I want to read in the physical form. It has a lot of like jumping around. I'm going to link Caroline Johnson's vlog where she read this because she does a really good job describing it, but without spoiling anything. But I do believe it is a super interesting horror, maybe thriller-esque book. And like I said, it's really thick, but I saw it and I was like, I have gift cards and I want to buy some book, so that's the book that I left with. I don't know, I really prefer the library and like ebooks, but I've got to have physical books because it's part of my personality. Hello. This is a super random update and not part of my original TBR, but I started listening to Float Plan by Trish Dollar, and this could definitely count for a romance from an author I have not read before. I don't know if Trish Dollar has other books, but my hold for this came through with the library, so I'm already like halfway through the audiobook for this, and this is a super heavy romance. Like, not dark, but our main character, Anna, is dealing with the loss of her fiance who killed himself like 10 months ago. But for the last like 3 years of his life, he had bought a sailboat and they were planning this trip together. She's been grieving for almost a year now, and then she like has a calendar event on her phone that goes off on Thanksgiving, and it was supposed to be the start of their trip. So she just impulsively decides that she's going to get on this boat and sail to, she's like sailing from Florida to the Caribbean to Puerto Rico, I think is her trip, her mapped trip. She makes it to like Miami and she's like, okay, I'm going to need some help. I can't do this by myself, because she was like having to stay up all night, like she couldn't sleep because she was sailing a boat. So at the port or the harbor or whatever, she puts up like a help wanted kind of ad. She gets a response, but it's in a funny way that she gets a response. She had like come into the port and she had gotten really drunk and she kind of passed out, and then this Good Samaritan helps her, and it turns out he's the guy who had responded to her post, her bulletin. They start sailing together, and he's Irish, which is really awesome, especially in the audio. Our narrator is doing some excellent accents. But this is going to be their romance. And I'm like halfway into it. I guess you would definitely call this a slow burn. Most of this book has been Anna dealing with her grief. And this book starts out with like a trigger warning for suicide and like the grief associated with a loved one's suicide. So that's mainly what this has been about. But our love interest, Keen is his name, Keen O'Sullivan or something. He's so sweet. Like, he used to be a professional sailor, but then he lost his leg. So he has an interesting story. Anyway, Keen has a prosthetic leg, and at the 50% mark of Float Plan, they were adopting a dog that they found on one of the islands they were on. So I think that's all I had to say for that, but now it's like a day or two later, and I've finished Float Plan, and it was such a good read, like a solid like 4.5 stars. It was super heavy, and really, yes, there was a romance between Anna and Keen, but it was mainly Anna kind of like accepting what had happened to her and learning how to be herself with this new baggage kind of. She and Keen, like, obviously get together, but then, like, they acknowledge that they can also be apart, and Anna can still, like, be herself. Like, she has a new self to be. And they sail a lot of boats and go to a lot of Caribbean islands. Well, they only sell one boat, but they sell it a lot. But it was so good. It was so different. It was not like your traditional romance. It had a lot more heavier topics in it. And I also finished Tris 6 Venom. I should mention we are just wrapping up this vlog right now. I just know I left that other clip off like super abruptly. Nick started talking to me. I finished Tris 6 Venom by Penelope Douglas. My sapphic romance. The second half of it I enjoyed a lot more than the first half. And just because of that, I'm giving it 4 stars, but like really it was another solid like 4.5. I really enjoyed the relationship that Clay and Liv developed. I loved hanging out with Liv's family. I would really like some books for her brothers, especially Macon and Army. I think those would be so good. I would be so down to read those. So another solid read, another really great book. What was the other book that I read for this? Beard Science by Penny Reed. Honestly, my favorite book that I've read so far this year, 6 out of 5 stars. So good. And then Embrace by Beverly Jenkins. I'm like 35% into it. I made it that far within this readathon, Romance-A-Thon. And this is a historical romance. It is set in 1855 and we spend some time in California. It actually starts in Philadelphia. And our main character she's like a seamstress in Philadelphia. But like, so this is 1855. It's in America. We have a little more technology. They have running water. It's not really heated, but they have running water, and we have like trains and transportation like that. But our main character is 30. She's still living with her mom. She's never been married, and her mom is so mean to her. And her mom is mean to her because our main character, looks a lot like her dad. Like, she has very particular eyes. I should say she's African American, and her mom, when she looks at her, she sees her dad who left them. Our main character, Mariah, she tries to be a good daughter. She like just wants her mom to like her, and I'm finding that this is a trope that I love. I don't know why. Like, listen, I had a fine childhood, but I love in books, same thing with Beard Science, when parents are the enemies of their children. I just enjoy that for some reason. I don't know what that says about me. But Mariah's mom is super mean to her. Mariah is like so talented with sewing and designing gowns, and her mom like kind of writes her off as being stupid, and she lets all of the like rich ladies who use their shop like degrade her, and she never stands up for her, and she just takes credit for any good things that she does, and she literally like verbally abuses her every day. And Mariah has had enough. She and her mom have a big argument that gets a little bit physical, and Mariah goes to her aunt, her mom's sister, and she learns a little bit more about her mom and her past and why she might be so mean to her. But Mariah's aunt answers an ad in a paper for a housekeeper in California. So Mariah is like, I'm ready to live my life. I'm 30. She's kind of given up on getting married at this point. And she decides to see the world, travel across the country to California, and she starts working on a ranch with a grumpy rancher. So our hero, his name is Logan. He's also African American, but his stepmother is Spanish, and they have a ranch in California. And his stepmother, Alonza, she would love for him to get married, but that's not why she posted this ad. But he just stays like very busy with their ranch, and he like breaks horses. Like, he travels around and finds wild horses and then breaks them to sell them. It's a pretty cool job. But he's kind of let his house just like fall to the wayside, and it's super messy, it's super cluttered, and she's like, please, I'm going to hire someone to help you get this house into shape. In case you ever do find a wife, she's not going to live in this house the way it is right now. So we have Mariah. And in Philadelphia, she was like this meek little mouse, and she's like, I can't do this anymore. This is not who I am inside my head, so when I get to this new place, I'm going to be who I want to be. And she like channels some Queen Calafia energy. She like hears a story about how California got its name, and it's this like warrior queen. She's like channeling this warrior queen energy to put her foot down to her new employer, Logan, because he's pretty hesitant. He doesn't really care if his house gets fixed or whatever, but she's like, I'm here to do a job and I'm going to do it well, and you're going to help me, and we're gonna get this done. And their interactions are just so good right now. I feel like I've had a lot to say about this historical, and I'm only 30% into it, and I feel like I've talked about it more than I've talked about the 3 other books that I finished in this vlog. But that's where I am right now. And they like don't want each other, but also they like mentally and physically want each other, but they're just being stubborn, and it's so good. It's so good so far. I love the setting. I haven't read a historical that's been set in America, so I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying our characters. That's what I have to say about this. I hear really great things about Beverly Jenkins in general, so I'm really excited to read some of her books. This is a series. Logan has 2 brothers, Alonzo's like biological children, and they have their own books. One is like a pirate. He's not a pirate, but he sails around the world. And then one, I'm not sure what he does, but they have their own books, and I have all of them on Kindle for this series, so I'm really excited to continue on with that. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I would love to know what you read for Romance-A-Thon, or if you've read any of these books, or just let me know some good books that you've read recently. I would love to know. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one.